Buddy. This meeting will be held in accordance with Executive Order N2920, issued by the California Governor Gavin Newsom on March 17th, 2020, the Ralph M. Brown Act, California Government Code, Section 54950, and the Federal Americans with Disability Act. This meeting will be open to the public and also accessible via Zoom. Zoom meeting information was on the posted agenda. Remote public comment is also available for the City Council meeting by emailing the City Clerk at cityclerk@ci.series.ca.us by 5 p.m. the day of the meeting, include the agenda item number on the public comment period in the subject line of the email. The clerk may read written comment into the record if specifically requested to do so at the beginning of your email. Your written comment will be distributed to the City Council and kept on file as part of the official record of the City Council meeting. Welcome, everybody, to a special City Council meeting today, Wednesday, June 30th, 5 p.m. We call to order and get the roll call, please.
Councilmember Rhino,
Yes.
Councilmember Silvera,
Here.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Here.
and Mayor Lopez.
Aye. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, let's see. We will commence with citizens' communication. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the City Council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes. Resolution number 2007-106. California law prohibits the City Council from taking any action on any matters which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Citizens are entitled to address the City Council on items described in the agenda for the special meeting. Public comment is now open. We will first call those who are present in the chambers. If anybody would like to come up and speak. If there is any, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
John Warren Series. This afternoon, I sat down and sent an email to city council members and staff.
We turn his microphone up, please, or is that as far as
It is
it
on.
goes?
Closer to the mic?
There you go.
Better?
Thank you. Yep.
I'm
perfect.
sorry. John Warren Series. This afternoon, I sat down and sent an email to you folks in regards to the vendors that are in and about our city at various times and various locations. And I know that the council worked hard to put in place some rules regarding their operation, which requires business licenses and other things. But one of the things I failed to point out, and I was going to bring it to my attention as well as yours, is that these folks do not collect sales tax. When we go to a brick and mortar business, whether it's a restaurant or whatever, they collect sales tax as required by the Board of Equalization. These folks out there aren't doing that. And that's another benefit or a loss to the city, because I know part of the budget revolves around sales tax. So thank you for your courtesy.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Emails?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Public comment period is now closed. Moving on to new business. Resolution number 2021-68, authorizing expenditures and operations in lieu of 2021-2022 budget and continuing resolution. Mr. Westbrook.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Lopez, council members. At the June 28th City Council meeting, there was a resolution, a continuing resolution for the operations of our budget as we moved into the next fiscal year on July 1st. That action did not move forward. Yesterday, staff huddled up and decided that it's necessary for us to continue operations of the city's budget and to meet our obligations to have a resolution allows us, provide some appropriations so that we can spend some funds. And without doing so, we wouldn't be able to meet those financial obligations. And so we prepared a resolution for this special meeting this evening. We've asked for an amount of 14.5 million. It's a little bit different. That would be about 2 months of operation. You may recall that when we presented the continuing resolution, it was for a period of 90 days. There's a subtle difference between the two, and I'll explain that now. When we had looked to do the continuing resolution, one of the aspects of that is we wanted to fully fund the CIP program because those funds are in our water and sewer accounts. That's why the amount's a little bit different. So we've kind of taken that back, that CIP program, and just allocated the entire budget. So it's about 7.25.
Reset itself again.
Yeah.
There we go. Now, are we still on Zoom? Do you know?
All right, sorry about that.
Okay, so we're back.
The technical difficulty. So what I was suggesting was that the CIP budget, we've kind of done calculations and essentially said 7.25 million per month. The reason we've kind of extended this only for a period of around 2 months is we'd like to get the budget back for adoption as soon as we can so that we can include that CIP budget. If the council so desires to extend that beyond just the 2 months of operation, we can just simply add more money to the resolution. It would go from 14.5 million to 21.75 million if we elected to move it further down the road. We just didn't want to tie our hands to future CIP projects in terms of getting under contract. So with that, staff is available to answer any questions, but this resolution, if adopted and passed, would allow us to continue operations of the city.
Thank you. Councilmember Rhino?
My first question, why would we want to continue this for only 2 months? You know, we will not have a fifth person sometime in September. And the same thing can happen where it's going to be potentially 2 to 2.
So as I explained, we're looking to, because the CIP is wrapped up into this, the CIP in the continuing resolution was going to fund us for the entire year. Under this scenario, the CIP is only funded for 2 months. The sooner we adopt the budget, then we would release that CIP program the entire year. But the council's well within their right to just add another month of expenditures, and then we could get to the essentially the end of September.
Okay, so last resolution we had on Monday night was for 3 months. That was 17.826. So now you want 21?
Correct. And I believe the difference is that some of the CIP, I'll let Letitia describe the difference in the amounts.
Well, maybe first she could explain to me what a continuing resolution is. The continuing resolution, my understanding, is basically approving or continuing the adopted budget from last year.
Correct. So it just continues the budget that was adopted in September. It just allows us to keep moving forward the same expenditures, it doesn't add any new expenditures. It doesn't add any new positions. It's just the status quo budget that we've been currently working in.
So the total appropriations for this budget year, 2019-20, was that the 73,493,411?
For the 2021? The 2020,
Yeah, 2021.
yes.
Okay. So if you were to divide that by 12 to continue, that would give you 6.124450 a month, the way I divided it. And then times 3 months, again, you're not going to get to 21 million. So if we're really looking at a continuing budget a continuing resolution, then how are you coming up with what the city manager is saying, 21 million? For 3 months, because this other one that was 17,826 was supposedly for 3 months, and now we're being told it would be 21.
So the 17 million was for operations only. So we removed any CIP projects and then determined what 3 months worth of expenditures would be.
Okay,
And then-
can I interrupt you right
Uh-huh.
now? Because I'm looking at the resolution from Monday night that said the 17.826910, and it said that it included capital improvement projects carried over from fiscal year 2020, 21, and those projects budgeted in fiscal year 21, 22 are exempt from the spending limit.
Right, so the new CIP projects for the 21-22 budget
Okay.
were going to be
I
approved.
I guess I'm not following that. Monday night, it was 17.826910. Now to get 3 months, it's 21 million. I don't understand. So you can explain that better to me, because you're saying that Monday nights did not include capital improvement, because I heard the city manager say that it did at the Monday night resolution.
The resolution on Monday night included approval of the projects that are in the 21-22 budget.
Okay. And that was 17,826,910, which was what we were being asked to approve.
But then in addition to that would have been the 21-22 projects.
But didn't that also include the new employee positions, the new budget? 'Cause when I questioned that, that was what I was
The,
told.
the continuing resolution does not include any new positions. It deals, it's strictly the current fiscal year budget continued on. So it doesn't, include any new positions, any new projects.
Correct.
Okay.
But again, I'm going back to Monday night, 17,826,910. And that did include new positions, is what I was told on Monday night when I asked that. So that's why I'm confused. If it doesn't include it this night, then why would it be 21 million? Something doesn't jive to me, that it's more, but you're saying we're getting less, or we're doing less with that amount of money, but now we're looking at 21 million for 3 months.
Okay, so what I did, I took the 73 million that was adopted in the budget for 2020, 2021.
Huh?
I removed the CIP projects from it. So most of Department 95. And the difference was about $67 million. Instead of the 73, it was 67 million. And then I divided that by 4 to get 3 months worth.
You don't divide the 67 by times 3? Is that the
Oh, yeah,
same,
it's the
same
same.
effect?
Yeah.
Okay, again, though, I'm not understanding how it can be 21 million. It's more now than it was Monday night. And we had an issue with it Monday night.
Okay, because the 17 million plus approval of the CIP projects would have been more.
Okay, so,
Because the CIPs were a separate line. So that would have made the total of the resolution more.
that's all my questions for right now.
Can we get clarification?
I
I want to get clarification. So the CIP funds were not added last time because they were on a separate line. They're added now. in order for us to continue for the next 2 months, that you added an extra 7.25 in case we wanted to go 3 months. 3 months, correct? Which why we came up with 21.75. So if we choose today, we could just do 2 months. If that's what the resolution calls for, correct?
That would just fund 2 months.
Okay.
And does that 17,826 for 2 months, does that include the capital improvement project?
That 17
Oh.
million in the last one?
No, I'm sorry, the one that is tonight, which is,
Yes, it would include all of the expenditures.
when you say all of the expenditures, what do you mean by all of the expenditures?
All funding sources. So that would be general fund and all the capital improvement.
Okay, so for the 2 months, 14.5 million, that does include the capital improvement projects?
Yes.
When it says contractual obligations, what are those? Yes,
Those are any contracts that we've entered into that we need to pay as of July 1 for the
so
new fiscal year.
they're encumbered? Is that what they are? They're the encumbered contracts?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Condit?
So just to clarify, we had 2 resolutions. One was including the CIP, the other was the interim budget, correct, at the last meeting? Is that the confusion here, that there were 2 resolutions?
So at the last meeting, there were 2 resolutions. One, the continuing resolution for the budget, and the second was the appropriations limit. So there was 2.
A couple comments from me. First of all, I think, and the attorney could second this. I hope everybody understands that if we don't approve some sort of a budget, whether it's 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is at this point, after this week, the city will have no authority to pay bills or pay employees at all.
That's correct.
That's correct. 0. So where we would go from there, everything would be put on hold. City business would have to be put on hold. I just want everybody to understand that. I would probably lean towards adding the 3rd year, just amending this resolution toward adding the 3rd year.
Third month.
The 3rd month, I'm sorry, to make it 90 days. Now we could beat the dead horse of all of our opinions on why we shouldn't adopt a budget long-term, but I don't really believe that that's what we're here for tonight. I believe we're here to give the city staff the ability to pay some bills and pay our employees for the next 3 months. I think that's what we're tasked with this evening. So if nobody else has any other comments, anybody have comments still? Okay.
Vice Mayor?
So City Manager, Finance Director, this is for every department in the city, fully funds us for 2 months, 3 months if we make an amendment for our current operations.
Correct. It's the entire city.
Now, City Manager, are all these operations essential to the city?
Of course they are.
Were any of the operations that we're funding in this budget not funded during COVID?
No, everything was funded.
Well, I know we're here tonight to, like Councilmember Silvera said, to make sure our essential services are provided for our citizens. However, I don't feel like it would be right to not address the elephant in the room, that we need a fully funded budget coming up. So I would like to make a motion that in 60 or 90 days, whenever the next budget meeting is, there be an alternative budget that is fully balanced, be presented to the council. I don't see any reason why there couldn't be. So I'd like to make that motion.
Can you explain your motion again?
So if we decide 2 months or 3 months tonight, whenever the next budget meeting is, when the city manager comes back with his budget, I think he should also bring a budget that is truly balanced, that has those $1.6 million in cuts, so we all can have that information and make the best decision for the city.
And I would second that.
Thank you.
I did want to ask a question before we move, Cooper.
Yes, Mayor.
That could also be a direction, correct? Direction to the
That
city
is, that
manager.
is direction to city staff.
He could have that budget and his current budget,
Presented to us.
both.
Yes.
So you don't necessarily need a motion. The only reason I asked that is because if we today can all agree on what is presented, we can also have what you're asking for as well.
Exactly. Well, that's just to give city staff direction to bring that back in 2 or 3 months, whenever the next budget meeting is.
So what I'm asking is, do we necessarily need a motion for that, or can we just all agree to just
City attorney.
agree that Tom could just provide that for us? But today, all I'm trying to say is, because I don't need us to go back and forth 2 and 2, when in reality, what we're here for today is exactly what Mr. Silvera is saying, that we need to take care of our staff and employees. They need
Yeah,
to get paid. So
In order to do that, you would pass this resolution either with the 2 or 3 months, and then separately you give direction that that's contingent upon, with the
It'll continue.
understanding that both of those budgets will come back, but you would do this separately.
Right, but that doesn't take a motion. That's just,
No.
we can only act on what's on the agenda tonight, and that's the temporary budget, correct?
I
Yes.
wouldn't disagree
It-
on that direction at all. I want to be all obviously fair. If you guys want to see those numbers, that's fine. Does that make sense, council members?
Yes, Mayor.
Have more questions?
Oh, absolutely. I was just wanting to make sure that before we moved on, that's a possibility.
And if I may jump in, council members, direction was provided previously that when we receive the ARA funds to come back to the council to talk about the use of them. I think that would be another opportunity to talk about the budget and the use of the ARA funds in the budget, similar to the vice mayor's recommendation this evening.
It's a little different though, city manager, because I want to make sure we have the full numbers in scope, so we wouldn't have to give you direction to bring something back. I want to make sure we would be able to do this on the same night, if possible.
So we don't want to meet when we get the ARA funds.
Well, no, I think we should meet when we get those funds. However, when you bring the budget back, I think we can all agree, we just had 3 folks agree that we want a budget that has that 1.6 in cuts, that is balanced, not essentially balanced, that is balanced.
Okay. So a balanced budget with or without the ARA funds being included.
Yes, sir.
So that's not necessarily what the entire council wants, but at least provide those numbers so the 2 council members can see that. It's kind of correct. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
Well, an actual budget, not just the actual
Right.
budget, so we could vote on that.
But we still haven't discussed the ARROW funds either, so there's a possibility that could change as well.
I think those are 2 different topics, Mayor.
And we could possibly do it on the same day.
And that's why I think it would be best if city staff had that budget, a balanced budget, ready to be presented.
Do we know when those ARROW funds are coming?
We believed it could be as soon as today. When Letitia and I talked with the Department of Finance, they're required to get it to us, I believe, around the 16th, 17th of July. So our application has been in for more than a week and a half. The deadline was the 23rd. With the 4th of July holidays, they expected to hopefully get some distribution of those funds out before the 4th of July, but most likely will probably sneak into the probably after the 4th of July holidays. But we checked our bank account today and we did not receive it yet.
I just want to make it abundantly clear that today, I'm hoping that the city council will move forward with this resolution so that we make sure that employees are taken care of. They're vital to this city. Ms. Rhino?
This is a question for Mrs. Diaz again. This is, or maybe it's the city manager. This does not include hiring any new employee stated in the proposed 21-22 budget.
It would not hire the new code enforcement officer position. It would not hire any of the new positions. We would still be able to hire any vacant position we have. For example, the city engineer position that is out for recruitment, and then a number of those frozen positions, but none of the new positions would be hired.
And it does not include the new 21-22 capital improvement projects?
It does not.
Okay. Which is good, which is a true continuing resolution. But I do have a question for the city attorney. I thought, and maybe I heard wrong, but I thought Monday night that someone asked you something about the budget because we were going to be 2-2, and you said that we could continue without a budget. That's what I heard you say.
You don't have to have a budget per se, but you have to have some authority to make expenditures.
Okay. But I didn't hear you say that Monday night.
I don't remember Monday night. I remember at the first budget meeting, I said, it sounds counterintuitive, but you don't have to have a budget. You do have to have some framework for your expenditures.
And again, I may have understood, but I also believe I heard the city manager say when someone asked him, well, what do we do now? That he said we would just. So for me, if I'm misunderstanding, that's fine, but that's what I heard. But I think about all the angst that our employees are going through, wondering if they're going to get paid. And I just think we didn't have to be here. I think that we should have received that information Monday night.
Okay.
I'm not the city attorney or the city manager, but I did state that. And I'm just going to read you a little clip out of the California Government Code and the California Constitution. A public agency may not spend public funds without legal authorization to do so. Among other things, the budget appropriates public funds, thereby providing legal authorization for government body to expend these funds. Appropriation authority can be conferred by an ordinance or resolution, which is what we're going to do tonight. Hopefully. That's just out of the code, so we all know that we.
And I understand that, but I also think that we as a council look upon our city attorney to jump in and straighten us out, or the city manager. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Understood.
Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Mayor?
City manager,
Apologize for cutting you off about the motion, by the way.
problem. City manager, finance director, does this, do you folks have line by line numbers for each department?
No,
Not
we
with
didn't.
us.
No.
No. So we don't know what the 2 months that we're voting on impacts for each department.
It's that
It
percent.
would, yeah, it would be the divided by 4. The 67 million divided by 4.
Vice Mayor, is that your, okay, just wanted to make sure. Vice Mayor, before we move on, so you're on your motion, because obviously we have to do a roll call. Would you prefer to retract the motion and just give direction to the city manager to provide those numbers?
Yes, Mayor, of course.
I appreciate that, Vice Mayor.
I would like council to give direction to city staff to bring back a budget when the full year 2021, 2022 budget is presented. Bring an alternative with $1.6 million in cuts, taking no reserves out to balance the budget. Is that clear?
Yes, so essentially the budget that we had presented on the 14th remains, and then a budget that would reduce that difference in revenues and expenditures to be zero so that no general fund was used.
I'm sorry, quick question on that. Is that typical for the city to use reserves to balance the budget?
We've done it in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, for example, when the budget was adopted in September of 2020, the anticipation that we would be able to add reserves at the end of the year was about 476,000 plus or minus. It actually is probably going to end up closer to 1.6 million, so there was an additional $1 million in savings, largely made up of frozen positions or vacancies throughout the year. And so when we adopted that budget in September, around 500,000, we anticipated to add to the general fund reserves, going to be closer to $1.5 million.
Thank you.
Any more questions, council? Somebody would like to make a motion?
Move to approve Resolution 2021-68.
Second.
Member Ryan
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you, city council, and thank you, staff, for showing up for today. This meeting is adjourned.